Hello, my name is Morgan Sinclair. I am the founder of the Eating Expedition. Today, I am in Columbus, Texas. I am at my aunt and uncle's house, and right behind their house is a vineyard. Now, this was a super cool hobby that my two aunts and two uncles started, my mom's brother and sister and their spouses, and as a niece of my aunts and uncles, I have gotten to reap the benefits of our family having a vineyard. And so I'm gonna go hang out with my aunt and chat with her all about the grape growing process. I've made it to Columbus. This is where my mom's side of the family lives, and they have a vineyard. On my way in, I stopped at a coffee shop. My aunt texted me this morning and she's like, by the way, we got a new coffee shop. There's only been one coffee shop in Columbus thus far, and a second one just opened. And so obviously I had to stop by and grab us some coffees. Cheers to a day in Columbus at the vineyard. Hello and welcome to Cummins Creek Vineyards. I'm here with my Aunt Tammy, and we are going to take you around the vineyard today.
Hi, I'm Tammy Ruther. I'm one of the co-owners of Cummins Creek Vineyards. I own this with my husband Kevin and my brother Ronnie and his wife Dawn. We've been farming grapes for about 12 years, and we would like to welcome you to our vineyard.
Now it's currently January, which means all of the vines are dormant. The vines like to sleep in the winter time, much like us humans. It's a nice cozy time for them to reserve all their energy to grow in the spring, and then grapes are ready to harvest in usually around end of June, beginning of July, which, yes, that is the hottest time in Texas. And so it is a little bit of a brutal harvest, but a very, very fun family tradition.
If you look out, we have about 1,000 vines, 3 different varietals. Planted section is 2 acres.
We are headed back to the last few rows of grapes. This is where the Communard Noir varietal is, and this is a new varietal to Cummins Creek Vineyard. And most of the vineyard has been clipped, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But these vines have not, because Texas A&M is going to come in and they actually want to measure the clippings to track the growth.
Right, so this is what the vineyard would look like at the end of the growing season, right after maybe a first cold snap. We've got lots of vines going all over the place. First step in the year would be to rough prune, which basically is a hedge trimmers. We take it in about midway. We have wires here that are supporting our trellis system. We would take a hedge trimmers and just trim off all this extra that's hanging down. For a couple of reasons. We're getting ready for fine pruning, which starts our growing season. The other thing is that lots of wind. Just we want to eliminate all the extra weight that it has on it during like the cold and windy months. On this side, this side has already been rough pruned. As of 2025, we've already touched about 800 vines. This is the first time we'll touch them to rough prune. In a couple of months, somewhere around February, March, we'll come in and we will do what's called a fine prune, where that one's a little more labor intensive. We come in, we find the best buds that are going to produce for us, and we trim back a whole lot. So like this excess would be trimmed off, and then these buds that you see right here, these little buds, those are the ones that are going to produce our next crop. The plant will only have so much energy that it can put into its growing season. You can add energy to it by adding fertilizers and things like that, but for the most part, there is just a limited amount. So what you want to do is you want to maximize your growth potential of your plant. So we trim back to like 2 buds for each of these little spurs that you see coming up will turn back to 2 buds. If you leave any more than that, the plant is just going to have way too much foliage. It's going to be way too heavy. Then its energy is going into making the extra foliage instead of putting its energy into making the grapes. So you have to maximize like your growing region of your plant. Actually, in some cases, less is more, and that's kind of how this works. So if you get the optimum amount of buds and foliage, you're going to have grapes that are a nice quality. You're going to have a good sugar content. So that's kind of the rule that we follow for when we come in and we prune. Years past, we've always done this all by ourselves. 4 of us out here with 1,000 vines, we can make progress pretty good, but it still takes us about 6 weeks, only on the weekends to do it because we still are all working. This year, we've hired a company that's going to come in and bring a crew in and fine prune for us. And they're going to be done in like a day. They're going to bring in enough people so that it's all done in a day. The positive with getting it all done at one time is that everything grows at the same time. So when we were doing it, and it was taking us stretched out over 6 weeks, the plants that we had pruned at the very beginning were starting to grow already, and 6 weeks later, then those were the plants that we had gotten to 6 weeks later, those were 6 weeks behind where the first ones were. So we saw some things there that were not ideal for what we wanted. So we're going to hire a crew this year to come in, and we're going to do some of it because I really enjoy coming out here and trimming. But they're going to help finish it out for us so that it's a little more uniform throughout the whole vineyard.
You purchased the first couple of rows of actual plants. How did the rest of these vines get here?
So after talking with different vineyard owners, we realized that a lot of this could be propagated on our own with just cuttings. So we tried it. I mean, we had nothing to lose. So we had purchased the first probably 4 rows, and those were actual plants that came in pots. And then after that, we took clippings from those, and we just put them in the ground. And they said, put them in the ground, they'll grow. We thought they're crazy. There's no way that is going to work. So rows 5 through 15 are actually just clippings from our first stock that we bought. When we come through and we do our fine pruning, we'll clip off like a nice section, probably about a 6 to 8 inch, maybe sometimes 9 inches or so, section of just a piece of vine that had grown from last year. These buds are still viable. And so if we clipped here, we would take this piece that we've clipped off and we would put in the ground 2 buds. Those buds will now become the root system. Yeah, and then the 2 buds, you have to have 2 good buds that are above the ground, at least 2 buds above the ground, to create your vines that you see. Now,
so you would just take this and you would literally just stick it in the ground.
Yeah,
like right here.
Yeah, make a little hole. So this one was actually like a clipping that you just had your hand on. Now, granted, it was 10 years ago, but now they require a little bit more babying at that point. I mean, you have to keep them, you have to be out here and make sure that they're wet and growing. But yeah, we couldn't believe it ourselves. We said, that's crazy.
So we are standing in between 2 varieties. We have Communard Noir and Blanc du Bois on this side. We have red grapes and we have white grapes. Tell us about these grape varietals.
Well, I'll start with the Blanc first. Now, Blanc du Bois is the varietal that will grow all over Texas. I mean, it is resistant to the humidity, the diseases. You've got Pierce's disease, which some of the more picky varietals have a problem with. They will last a couple of years, and then Pierce's disease will take over and it'll kill the vine. These happen to be resistant to that. They make a sweet white grape. You'll see most Texas wineries will have a Blanc du Bois on their wine menu. We have made a dry Blanc de Bois, a sweet Blanc de Bois, and now we also, this past year, we have included a sparkling as well. And so those all turned out really well, and those are very good, easy drinking wines, good, sit on your back porch in the summer, just have a glass of wine kind of wines. The Caminaire is very new. Not a whole lot of vineyards have the Caminaire. This is sort of an experimental process. We're working with A&M. We're growing. I think we have 150 vines. I think we planted these back in 2020. They were developed over in California, and UC Davis said I think they'll grow very well in Texas, and they have. They've done really well. We're still waiting on how the wine and the things are going to shake out with the wine, and if that's going to be a good varietal to have on our wine list. We haven't tasted it yet, but the harvest that we just made in 2024 is going to be is in the process of making our first red wine with Caminaire. So we'll see. In a few months, we'll get to see how that's going to be. Most varietals will take anywhere from 3 to 4 years to have a really nice harvest that is wine quality. They will produce grapes, but those grapes may not be what you want for wine. They might be a little on the bitter side or sour. They really take those years to mature. The plant needs that time to mature to produce a good quality sweet grape that's going to be good for wine production. So our third varietal in our vineyard is technically called Lenoir or Black Spanish. When we first got into this, Black Spanish wasn't our favorite wine to drink, and so we planted a few because they were very good at growing in this area, and they're very, very robust. They produce a very dark red grape and big, huge clusters. What we do with them now is they make a very good jelly, and so we share with some of our friends who come out and they pick their own, and they either make jelly or they'll make maybe a small batch of wine with them or whatever. But they grow very well. The animals tend to love these over the other ones because they produce a very sweet and juicy red grape. They're beautiful. So they're more ornamental, I guess, in here for us than they are profitable. It's just more fun to have them, I guess. So we harvest somewhere around the end of June to the early part of July. Normally July 4th is a good estimate for when it's going to happen. We have a crew that will come in, and family and friends can come over too, and we harvest somewhere in the last couple of years. We've had somewhere around 8 tons that come off of this vineyard right here, these 2 acres. After they're harvested, they get put in a refrigerated truck, and they are driven up to Nacogdoches, which is where our winemaker is, and the winemaking process begins immediately.
All right, so we have 3 wines in front of us. We have the Third Bank, the Liebling, and the Bolt. So walk me through. Let's start with the Third Bank.
So the Third Bank was our first wine that we had made. It is a dry white, and it's made with our Blanc de Bois. You're going to taste hints of pear, and it's got a little more of a natural grassy, which is typical of the Blanc. It's got the sweet grasses.
Where did the name Third Bank come from?
So Ronnie came up with Third Bank. The vineyard is on the third bank of Cummins Creek. So if we count the banks, like the bank right next to the creek as one, then it has a higher bank that drops off to get to the creek. That's 2, and then we're up on the hill, so that would be like the third bank of the creek.
Right. All right, and Liebling is also made from Blanc de Bois, but it's different.
So Liebling has definitely worked its way up to be the fan favorite over the last few years. I think this part of Texas really likes their sweet wine. This one's not overly sweet. It's more of like a semi-sweet. Um, it's just a very good, easy drinking wine. You're going to taste the pears and like more of the honey flavors, um, like a honeysuckle kind of a. It's just a very good, not like a not like a robust, but like a what's the other one?
Very simple, light, easy drinking.
Yes,
approachable.
Yes, very light, simple, just easy drinking. Cold glass of this, sitting on your back porch, makes for a nice afternoon. So yeah, it's been it's definitely become one of our most popular sellers over the years.
And what does Liebling mean?
So Liebling translates into German as my love or my darling. My aunt, our aunt, which would be like your great aunt, she spoke German to us all the time, and that was kind of one of her favorite things is to teach us how to speak German. And so she was, would say mein Liebling, and so we just kind of, it was kind of a tribute, I guess, kind of to her a little bit, and our German heritage. We picked the cows for the front because we still have that love of our cattle, and those three on the front are actually show heifers that my daughter Megan has taken to shows and created her own little herd from. So kind of all that combined just kind of made a good name for it.
And then lastly, we have, well, not lastly, you have other wines available. In terms of what we're going through, you have Bolt, which is a Cabernet Sauvignon, which are not grapes that we have here.
No, it's not. And a lot of people like to go, when they shop for wines, they go back to what they really know. And so a Cabernet is just one of those good wines to have on your wine menu because people do appreciate a good cab. The winemaker found those grapes for us and approached us and asked, did we want a Cabernet in our wine list? And we said sure, because it was kind of something we were missing at the time. Those grapes are grown out in West Texas, which has a lot different climate than here. So it's still a Texas wine, just not from our vineyard.
How do you think the Cabernet Sauvignon will compare to the notes of the Caminar Noir?
Well, since it's not grown here, I think we're going to get definitely a different vibe. This is a much lighter cab than most, even just because it's grown in Texas versus California. I'm not sure. I would kind of hope that our Caminera is going to have a lot fruitier tones to it, making it a little bit lighter of a red wine. Okay. That's kind of my hope. This Cabernet, of course, is delicious with your steak dinners, and even we enjoy it with even just like a charcuterie board on a Sunday evening.
And then tell us who Bolt is.
We still tend to a lot of our cattle, and Megan has started her little herd of show cattle that have had babies. But I guess our best cattle story or baby calf story was how this one particular little baby was born. He was born in the middle of a thunderstorm. It was probably the worst thunderstorm we've had on our place in the last probably 10 or 15 years. And after a huge lightning storm, and the next morning we went down to check on him, and there was this little baby. And so he very fittingly got the name Bolt. As he was growing, we decided that he was a pretty good little bull calf, and so we've added him into our herd of Angus, and so now he's kind of our herd bull that produces all of the offspring.
The patriarch of the herd.
Yes, he has become. He's just sort of a kind of a unique animal, and as you would think that he's very powerful like a Bolt, but he's pretty much like a big teddy bear, very, very gentle and docile, and
very different than the last bull that y'all had.
Yes.